Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Unrealized Purpose podcast. My name is Isaac. I'm here with Dalton, and we have a special guest on today's show, Warren English. Warren, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, telling people a little bit about you and what you do.
Absolutely. So I'm Warren. I am an online health and fitness coach. A little bit about my story is I'm from the Caribbean, born and raised. I moved to South America to study for my pharmacy degree. After that, a little funny story in between there. 2018, my grandpa called me. He lives in America, and he told me that after I'm graduated from pharmacy school, I'm moving to America. I don't have a green card, so I thought this old man was going senile or something, but he wasn't playing with me. When I was 9 years old, he put in an application to come to America, and almost 10 years down the line, it came through. And then 2020, I moved up here. I didn't even know I wasn't planning for it or anything like that. So I was very fortunate in that. But when I got here and I started working in the pharmacy world and healthcare, I quickly realized that just wasn't my speed. My passion lies in, I got into healthcare because I want to help people, but there was many things that I saw while working in the practice that turned me off from it. One story in particular, there was a patient that rolled into the pharmacy, and she regularly gets her diabetes medication, stuff, heart disease, stuff like that. And one day she came in, she got her medication, like insulin, the glucophage, all that good stuff. And then she proceeds in the pharmacy to go to this ice cream section, gets the ice cream, comes back to the desk, and buys the ice cream and proceeds to eat it, walking out. And she's morbidly obese, right? She really does need the help. It saddened me to know that, I didn't feel like I had the power to really help her the way that I wanted to help. Just dispensing the medication is like slapping a Band-Aid on a cracked pipe, right? You're trying to solve the problem after the problem happens. You're reactive, right? Not proactive. So I decided to leave it all behind, which was a scary decision, and go all in on the health and fitness journey. So in the end of 2021, I was actually in grad school at the time as well. I left that behind too. It was a long story. It's like, it was not a very happy person. I didn't like it. I left all that behind, and then at the end of 2022, I went all in on trying to be a health and fitness coach. I started working in New York City as a trainer. I started posting on social media. I started educating people like that. Started doing it online as of February, like officially. And then I've just been working on it ever since then. And here we are in 2023. I'm full-time online health and fitness coach and helping lots of people around the world, literally around the world, improve their body, not just for, the physical aspects, but, it really does dive into everything, the mental, social well-being, health, even to be honest, sometimes the financial. So yeah, that's my story.
That's a really cool journey, man.
Yep.
It's so cool. Like, it's such a cool day and age where you can actually work with people from like a different country and help so many people that, you'll probably never see in person. It's just such a cool thing.
Yeah, I'm hoping that could change because, a big part of what I do, I really do want to be able to connect the people that I do help. I know that's one of the things that was really, it's also missing in healthcare right now, because when you go to the doctor now, you get like 15 minutes. He's looking at a computer screen, he's typing, he's tapping. Like, where's the real care? That's lacking. So I at some point in what I'm doing, I'm hoping to kind of bring more of that to the table. But for now, everyone's all over the world. Remote work is like the popular thing. So it is what it is. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What's like, out of all the people that you've helped, is there like someone that stood out that like you could visually see the difference and you just like at that moment you really realize like, hey, I'm really helping people with this?
Yeah, I can say that about most. But
Well, good.
well, yeah, good. So there's physical differences. I mean, that's a given. Like that's one of the biggest parts of what I'm doing. I want to be able to help, especially with people in the fat loss department. That's really, really big because just by dropping a significant amount of body fat, you are fixing so many problems: the back pain, knee pain, the self confidence, the lack of energy, the fatigue, all of these things, the brain fog. Just by being able to control what you put in your mouth and move a little bit more and drop that body fat, it's fixing a lot of problems. So that's a gimmick. Physical changes are a gimmick. But I could say from my experience and with my healthcare background, one of the most fulfilling parts, fulfilling transformations that I've been a part of is with a client who I connected with sometime last year. And he was in another fitness coaching program. And unfortunately, it didn't really work out that well for him. So he was a bit hesitant. But, I met this guy and I was like, I'm going to change this life. So kept following up with him. And eventually he joined the program in January. And man, not only has this guy completely transformed his outview on the whole getting fit thing, because before the coach unfortunately was just giving him a lot of exercises that were not in his department. I mean, he's a big guy, 290 pounds. He's diabetic. He struggles a little bit mentally as well. He was an ex-Marine, so there's some mental aspects to it as well. And the way that I got to help him is, the connection part of things. And that's something that's really important, I think, is not only in the health and fitness space, but also just generally in healthcare practice. There's a lot of moments where I would be able to hop on a call with him and he'd share his experience with me. He shared his struggles. We'll be able to identify some of the triggers, because a large portion of what happens when you are struggling in your journey to better health, especially with the eating, is emotional eating. When you're stressed out, what do you turn to for comfort? It's food. So being able to have the conversation with him and walk him through why those things happen and have him realize that, and then try to make some interventions to overcome it, really did dial it in for him. And, we got him to a point where his blood glucose is under control. He's able to increase the amount of checkups that he has with his doctor, because he's no longer at much risk, and he's even in the conversation of getting off his medication. So, hearing stuff like that really gives me a lot of fulfillment, because I'll tell you what, in fitness, people don't look at it from like, I'm earning something. This is just a lot of effort, time, what I'm really earning from it. Like, I spent some time doing my job or whatever, but the average American pays $5,000 a year in diabetes medication. They pay around $2,000 a year in blood pressure and or heart disease medication. So if you total all of that up, getting these problems away from you, getting yourself off of these meds, is saving you in the long term. We're talking $5,000 to maybe $15,000 a year. So with him, it's another big part of the reason why it's really fulfilling with him. He's got a family, he's got a wife and kids that he loves, and he's just really grateful for being able to take care of himself so that he could better take care of them. And that's I think that's probably the biggest reason why I think he's one of the most fulfilling, because I've there's other clients that I have are coming off diabetes medication and stuff like that, but the purpose behind why he's doing it, right? We're an unrealized purpose. Purpose behind why he wanted to get himself in shape and fit, being there for his wife, for his family, being the strong one, because he does struggle somewhat mentally. Being able to help him get there is really fulfilling. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've done several like fitness apps or fitness programs online where it's like you download the app, pay for it, and then you quit after a week. Like
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
always there was no connection. It was like you said, there was a disconnect.
yeah. It's the connection, the accountability, all that. That's what really helps.
Yeah, accountability is so big. Um,
Well,
yeah, I'm kind of curious, man. Like how detailed do you encourage
yep,
people to get when they
yeah,
start setting their goals, like trying to get healthy?
yeah. So when starting out with your goals, I would actually go against being super detailed, where like, you need to track everything to an absolute T. You need to make sure that you're, waking up exactly this hour and doing this 5-step routine and like tracking all the micro data and stuff like that. It's the reason why I'm against it is because when we're thinking about it from a human behavior perspective, in order for you to change, what do you want? You want positive reinforcement. You want to get quick wins. So in order for you to have that, I need to give you a low barrier to entry. So when I start someone off, especially when it comes to fat loss, the primary things that they're focusing on are super simple depending on the individual, right? Number one is always going to be just keeping control of your calorie intake, right? So whatever amount of calories you need in order for you to be in a deficit, in order for you to drop fat, right? That is your one and utmost priority. The second thing would be movement, right? So what minimum amount of steps that I would start people off with is like 5,000, depending on the individual, because some people, they don't even in a day. I've had clients who come in and they average like 4,000 steps. So with that, like, again, we want to have them have those quick wins in order to change that behavior. So somewhere around 5,000, but 8,000 plus is really the ideal. And then the next thing that comes after that, getting your protein intake on point. And those are the big levers. Pretty much everything else that comes after that, aside from sleep is also a very important thing. Everything else that comes after that is where we're really looking to optimize and get you to that point where maybe you're at where I'm at, someone who has pretty much mastered the whole realm of health and automatic herself really, really well.
Okay, awesome. So simple,
Yeah.
achievable, get that momentum going. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, something you mentioned earlier, if you don't mind if we hop back a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
And because I think this is actually like, I know I struggle with this. And so I thought maybe you'd have a few other different ways. And I think a lot of people struggle with this. Is you said that, some of your clients, they lose a lot of weight and they lose the fogginess up in their head, or like their cognitive, being able to go through the day and not have fogginess. What are some of the things that you've noticed doing fitness that take away that fogginess or that cause the fogginess?
So brain fog can be boiled down to some amount of, let's say, like lack of energy to some extent, lack of energy happening in your brain. And so your brain's a little bit slow and it's not running at the speed that it should be. So I'm going to break this down on a biological level, right? So if you want your brain to function at a high level, what are some things that your brain needs? Your brain, first of all, needs blood flow, right? So if your blood flow to your brain is not good, then it's going to be a problem. How can we increase blood flow? How can we increase your body's ability to pump blood? Doing some cardio, right? Dropping some weight, simple as that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is your brain definitely needs glucose for energy, right? Now, if your blood glucose is significantly low all the time, then that there is also going to be a problem that's causing you to have that decreased energy. Now, I don't think that's so much of an issue for people who are higher body weight, but that can also be a part of this whole brain thing. And the moment you have maybe something like an energy drink with a little bit of sugar in it, your energy gets right back up, right? And then the last thing, a big factor, I would say, is the nutrition, getting your micronutrients, because the brain primarily, it is built on, I would say, the electric transport, right? It's built on having the nervous system, pulses and whatnot. So you need to have your minerals that are necessary for that, with calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, primarily, and then all the other vitamins and minerals that would be added onto that are essential. Once you're hitting those, then you should be. And pretty much, in my opinion, well, this is what I do, right? Of course, it's better to eat like a diverse range of foods, get your blueberries, your liver, whatever it is. But get a multivitamin just to cover your bases and now really be good. And then, one last thing to pay attention to would definitely be sleep. Now, a lot of people, you could have all the caffeine in the world. You have your nutrition on point as much as you want. You can work out as much as you want. If you get to sleep, it's going to be very difficult to avoid the brain fog, right? Because your brain needs that. Mind you, these things are super important still, but sleep is definitely going to be the limiting factor in the long run.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. I'll be trying some of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Just out of curiosity, which one of those do you think might be slacking?
Like at first I thought it might have been my sleep. And so I would try to sleep longer. And then sleeping longer caused me to be less motivated when I got up. And so I had that problem. So I was like, okay, well, I can't sleep that long because then I feel like my day got away from me. But probably like the mineral water, like a mineral water, or probably like a vitamin, a daily vitamin would probably help me. I don't take like a lot of medications, so I don't even take Tylenol when I get a headache. I just pain through the headache. So, I think those two probably stuck out to me the most. And probably just like in the morning, like getting up and really moving, like doing a few push-ups or something to get the blood flowing. That's probably a good idea to start there. So that's kind of what I took from it. But
all right, that's exactly what I recommend. Getting yourself a nice little pick-me-up in the morning, exercise, make coffee, whatever it is, man. That does wonders.
How does fitness contribute to personal growth and self-development? What are some things you've noticed?
So the way that fitness contributes to your personal growth and self-development is that it is a form of being able to create evidence for yourself. So when you start a fitness journey, you are an amateur, right? And you're going to have to learn the ropes. You're going to have to learn how to do the exercises. You're going to have to learn about nutrition. Yeah, you're going to try, you're going to fail, but you're going to have to keep consistent. You have to be persistent in order to see the changes that you want. Right? It's not something that you can shortcut. It's not something that you can have a cheat code. It's not something that it's overnight success is possible. It's something that you have to do the work. You have to show up. And when you get the results, it's undeniable. So how does it build your self-development? Well, when you look at someone who has a high-quality character, someone who's disciplined, what do you think builds a person with discipline? A disciplined person is probably very patient, very persistent, right? They're very emotionally mature. So if you want those character traits, you're going to have to put you through situations that are going to have to make you patient. They're going to have to make you persistent. You're going to have to make you more emotionally mature, right? So when you do exercise, that's building on all of those things, because you're never going to get the result if you quit, right? You're going to feel like you want to stop when you're doing a run, when you're in the middle of a set. Emotionally, it's going to tell you, no, this hurts, stop. But you're going to have to keep pushing. So it's going to help you be in more control of your emotions. You're going to be more emotionally mature, right? And obviously, it's not going to happen overnight. The body I built now, I've been building for 14 odd years, right? So you're going to have to be patient. Like, there's no way around it. So all of those character traits, which are required for your ability to be disciplined, right? It's going to build your character because you are developing those character traits, right? So that, I think, is where the real benefit of fitness lies to your self-development. And the beauty of it is that can then be put into every other area of life. It is relevant to business. It is relevant to your fitness. It's relevant to your health. It's relevant to your relationships, even, So yeah, that's the answer, man. It's just the whole journey of it. It puts you in that position where you're going to have to do it, right? Unless you quit, you'll end up there. As long as you don't stop, as long as you keep pushing, you're going to end up with those character traits that's going to build your character and ensure that you end up as a disciplined person.
I like that. I think there's a reel that's been circling around the internet where it's like the gym, the audio says something like the gym is the only place where the playing field's even. The amount of work you put in is exactly the amount of progress you get out, and you can tell. I mean, there are I've seen people get plastic surgery to get abs, and it's not the same. Like,
it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same. And then, like, why do we have a fit body? Why is a fit body necessary for us? Say from an evolutionary basis, if a woman is selecting for a partner who is capable, right? She wants someone to protect her, right? Or you're looking for, I don't know, like a family group. You're looking for who is the person that we can rely on to beat up the bully or whatever it is. You're not going to pick the guy who has, like, I don't know, fake abs and oil muscles and stuff like that. It's defeating the purpose, So it's something that you have to earn, and trying to have all these shortcuts, it's taken away from exactly what you would expect character that is required in order to get there in the first place. And eventually that's going to lead down to a bad. So yeah, I'm right there with you, man. The weight loss surgeries, I always like to say 10,000 steps a day is worth more than a $20,000 weight loss surgery, So just to put that in perspective, 10,000 steps a day is free, So do with that what you will.
Yeah. Awesome.
What are some of the things that you find in people that seem to be like their biggest barrier between moving forward to starting to get healthier and into better shape? What's the number one biggest barrier, or maybe top three biggest barriers you see in people?
It's a good question. So when people are starting a journey to improve their body, there's levels of change, right? There's a process of change. It's like a behavior change. The first part of the cycle is awareness. Do you even know that you have this problem? And I think there is a certain ideology in the current world where it's actually normalizing the unhealthy state, right? So a lot of people aren't even aware that being overweight, being obese, it is a problem. I think so. That could be one, right? The second part is when you actually become aware, like, how ready are you to execute? And that's where information comes in. So if they don't know what are the steps to take that would give them the highest probability of success. Unlike some of the fad diets a lot of people would try because it's like quick wins, whatever, like keto, vegan, the carnivore, not putting on these things, but if you want sustainable success for the long term, these are probably, just based on statistics, it's not your best bet. More flexible approaches is what necessary and a little bit more customized to the individual. That's why I've had most success with personally and with my clients. So I advocate for it. So that would be the second thing. Having the knowledge and the education. And then the last thing that I think gets in the way for people is the consistency. Because once they get started, it's hard for them to keep up and maintain the momentum that they built initially. And if I can look back on all the people that have started, they've seen significant progress and significant success, and they stopped, it boiled down to them not having, I would say, the right environment. And it makes it very difficult to change if you don't have that right environment. If you don't have people who are supporting you in your circle towards those goals, or even if they're holding you back, they're telling you, "Oh no, you don't need to get in shape. You're fine. Love yourself just the way you are, whatever." But the thing is, like, deep down, and I've had this happen. Deep down, the individual, they know that for themselves, even though this person says that, they know that they themselves, they're not happy. But the toughest part is just being able to overcome, and it takes sheer willpower, to be honest, that the naysayers or the people who are telling you to conform to what we consider average, what is the norm, instead of taking yourself to that higher level. And one thing that I've built into my system just to help with that process is a community. So with my clients, we have a community aspect where you are surrounded by the people who are just like you, who want to get fit for their careers, for their family, for themselves, just to feel more comfortable in their skin, for their confidence, and everybody, they have conversations around those things. You build connections around those things, because you ever heard that saying, you are the average of 5 people that you spend the most time with. If you spend time with people who are complacent, who are satisfied with where they are in life, who are pretty much, surround yourself with 4 or 5 people, most likely you're going to become the 5th one, right? The same habits that they have, the same foods that they're eating. If you're hanging out with them, you're going to the McDonald's, right? That's where they're going to want to meet you. You're going to want to meet you at the Cheesecake Factory, whatever, right? That's where they hang out. They want to go out on the weekend and drink. That's where the social bonds are created. So if you want to move away from that, it's a tough thing. It's hard. You have to break those relationships, because it's not in the interest of where you want to go in your life, right? But everyone has to decide for themselves where they want to go, and then from there they'll take action towards whatever direction they see is best. So it is what it is in that case.
Yeah, that's a sucky part of it. Sometimes you have to cut off people that just, continually want to indulge in bad habits. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because willpower is only so strong, man. It's actually a finite resource. Just to get a little nerdy here with it. The part of our brains that is responsible for discipline, or what you would call like executive functioning, like when you're consciously making decisions, you're choosing to do something, and you're not just like unconsciously, oh, I'm hungry, reach for the snack in the drawer or whatever. It requires a lot more energy. And the more you use it, it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But it is a finite resource. So if your environment, it's like, you are just surrounded with Laffy Taffies and lollipops all day, right? No matter how strong your will is, at some point it might, just on a statistical level, you are more likely to break your will and end up snacking on whatever it is. So it's a tough game to play, but your environment's important, and you do have to protect that energy, that literal energy, right? That mental energy. So if you got to cut some people off, man, if you have to distance yourself, let's say, I'd really like cutting people off. But if you do have to distance yourself, it is what it is,
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, is distancing yourself. I don't like cutting anybody off, so.
Yeah, I'm a nice guy. I don't particularly like the whole cutting people off thing. Maybe to my detriment sometimes, but yeah, it's definitely necessary for you to at least know your boundaries and distance yourself when you have to.
Yeah, I like the cutting, like not cutting people off, but like distancing yourself, because like they may not be where you want to go, or they may not be in the same headspace pursuing that personal development fitness journey But down the road, they see your progress. They want to hop on board. Yeah.
Exactly. They're just not at your level of awareness yet. That's all it is. You know, you're at a different level of consciousness. Sounds a little cliche, but you're at a different level of consciousness and you're ready to change. They're just not there yet. And, you know, that's okay. Is it okay? Maybe I don't know if to say it's okay, but I just want to say that it's something that, you know, it is what it is. And like, you have to take responsibility for what you can control, and whatever is not in your control, just don't stress out about it. So, it is what it is. I feel more comfortable saying that rather than it's okay. Because for me personally, if I have someone who's near and dear to me and they're not ready to change, I don't think it's okay. But, you know, I have to accept it, because what can I do? I can't do the work for it, you know?
Yeah. The only thing you can do is to choose to live by example.
Exactly. That's the most
maybe
powerful
they'll
thing.
follow along.
Lead from the front.
And a lot of these questions that I've got here are like, we've already been talking about them throughout the pod already. So they're so good.
I'm thinking, I mean, the questions are great. I think, I'm not, do you guys like listen to any other podcasts? I think if you have a little bit more of a conversational way about going about it, and just kind of like slap around different topics, I think that might add a lot of, I want to say, uniqueness and value. Kind of like I want to say, because if you look at the top podcasts, Joe Rogan's, the Andrew Huberman's, Jordan Peterson's, they do have somewhat of a framework, but it's very conversational for the most part, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where we're at with it, is like we're working at becoming better at it as we go, you know?
Yeah.
I'm a pretty young guy, you know, and doing this sort of thing and having the platform that I do is I'm still working through it and trying to become better. So hopefully in a year, this podcast will just be like really killer. But
Yeah.
where we're at right now, we're gonna work through it and become better, take feedback, and I like your suggestion there. So, I mean, that's why we have experts on podcasts like you. It's like we get to listen to what you have to say, even though we may not know the answer to all these questions.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyways, so back to the questions. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. No, actually, there was something that I was kind of interested in is your thoughts on like dopamine and serotonin and the chemicals that are released in the brain. Like, just do you do a lot of like research when you went to pharmacy school into any of that?
Yeah. So what I learned in pharmacy school was that those hormones are super common, right? Dopamine, serotonin, all these different things, they do play a role in your mood, your happiness and whatnot, or your feelings of happiness, I would say, your general state. However, they are also have many different uses in the body, right? Just like one hormone, for example, like serotonin, like we know that it has implications in depression, for example. That's why you have the SSRIs, those depression medications. I believe, like I forget what the name is, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But serotonin in the stomach, and a lot of people mix the stuff, but in the stomach, there's medication that targets serotonin, right, that are actually just preventing acid from being released, right? And that's the role of serotonin in the stomach. And a lot of people think that there's this big gut-brain connection that they get so confused about. So I don't have, I want to say, like any groundbreaking opinions on these things. With dopamine, I mean, one thing I know, I have read about dopamine from Robert Sapolsky. He wrote this amazing book, one of my favorite books on human behavior. and the biology behind human behavior. And one thing about dopamine, a lot of people think that we get dopamine as a reward for achieving something, but apparently dopamine also or the actual thing is that it's more the anticipation of the reward that it really drives the behavior with dopamine. So when you're working towards something, like when you have a goal, when you have purpose, you're working towards realizing that purpose, right? That is where the dopamine really surges, and that's what keeps us going. That's because, like, why do we as humans, why do we want to achieve anything? What makes us motivated to do that? And if you think about outcome, let's just look at outcome. The outcome is that we are goal-directed individuals. Like, why are you starting this podcast? Why did I start a business? Because we have goals. So is it that we pursue the goal because is it that the dopamine is coming because we are achieving the goal? Because when you achieve the goal, like, that's it. There's nothing else, right? Dopamine is still going. And so it's about the pursuit rather than the actual achievement. Dopamine has the big role in, as far as I understand, as far as I remember. I may be botching that up a little bit, but that's where my memory goes. I do remember that graph. There's a graph from this one research paper, and when you were looking at it, on the graph at the bottom line, this is like time, and then as you are anticipating and you're working towards that goal, the closer that you get to actually achieving it is where your dopamine levels are at its highest. Then right after you achieve the goal, it shoots back down, right? So like achieving the goal isn't really adding that much to you. It's like the pursuit. That's where the dopamine really rises. So
Yeah. I've heard that before where it's in the pursuit rather than the actual achievement.
The actual achievement. Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that's why people say fall in love with the journey. Find something that you can be obsessed about and chase and pursue.
Yeah. And just another tangent. So when I first moved to America, I actually had a mentor. He's he's doing his PhD. I think he's done now at Rockefeller University in New York, and he's a neuroscientist. So we were having a conversation, and I was talking to him about dopamine, and when you look at it, because the other roles that it has, for example, is in this disease. Forget what it's called, Parkinson's. So in Parkinson's, there's drugs that are like dopamine. They're mimicking dopamine in order to have the continuity of behavior. Because for whatever reason, like when the dopaminergic pathways are messed up, you have that instance of having what do you call it? The Parkinson's, right? So when you're shaking and stuff like that. So I question whether dopamine, the role of dopamine primarily is more continuity in the brain rather than like this reward thing. So instead of looking at it as, this is dopamine, it's this thing that is really there to reward us, it's more about having continuity of behavior. Because if the reason why you're shaking like this in Parkinson's is because the dopamine circuit is kind of like parsed off and you're getting like little surges or whatever, right? But if it's continuous, then you're able to flow in movement continuously. So perhaps hypothesizing, I don't know anything, right? I'm not a neuroscientist. I don't do deep research on this, but just based on that, and then thinking about, okay, if I want to continue this behavior, I actually have to be interested. I have to have a goal, and then I'll do it. Then, if that's the case, if we have no attachment to the end goal, then we don't care to do it, then we don't do it. There's no dopamine there. So, maybe that might be something. Who knows?
Yeah, I got some thoughts on that, but man, I don't know. I don't know where my head's at right now. I'm just like all over the place.
Yeah. Well, what thoughts you got?
Oh, just on that dopamine and its correlation to pursuing and chasing.
Yeah.
And chasing something. So like how it relates to fitness, because we feel like we get a lot of enjoyment and pleasure from waking up in the morning with a six-pack or waking up in the morning with the Lamborghini in our driveway.
Yeah.
But the actual like enjoyment is from finding some sort of enjoyment in chasing that six-pack, chasing that enough money to buy that car or whatever. And that's like that's the biggest driver, is like when you find that thing that can take you there, that goal, and then you can just work towards it.
Yeah.
Like that's where that sweet spot, where that maybe that's where you get flow more continuously, is because you've found that thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I definitely think that's how it works. Because I could remember for myself when I was at the peak of my fitness journey, it was more like 2019. I would argue since 2019, I haven't gained any more muscle. Like I've just been maintaining the whole time. I remember getting there. Then I finished doing like this fitness contest, and I was just thinking to myself, because I had a lot on my mind with the move to America, having to restart almost again, because I felt like I had to restart first time as well. Moving from Antigua, which is like a small island in the Caribbean, you could drive at 10 in 40 minutes, small place, but it's very homey because it's so small. So like everyone. And then I have to move to South America, where I knew basically no one. I had family there, like grandparents. Outside of that, we didn't really know anybody. So I thought restart. And then I restart when I moved to America again. But anyway, that's a little bit of time. So the reason that I was what I was getting at with that point, me ending my muscle building journey there, is after a while, when you got to a point where you've attained a very admirable physique, like where I'm at, I would say that I'm at that point right now. I just get to a point like, why am I even trying to build more? Because I was like in a muscle building phase. Like that was my whole thing. I think that's something that kept me going while I was in university, study, go to the gym, work out, whatever. Then I got to a point like, why am I still going? Why am I still trying to build more muscle? Why am I pushing myself this hard? And the moment that I started to question it, and it was no longer the goal, I just stopped and I didn't care anymore, right? And I actually stopped working out for a while. This is when COVID like just hit and stuff like that. I stopped lifting weights. So, I don't feel like doing this anymore. I just started running. I started running because, I was like, man, I haven't run in such a long time. This feels good. I started doing it more. I started at first, like, I swear to you, I couldn't do more than 5 minutes. I haven't run in so long. More. It's ridiculous. But I just started doing it and it felt good. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do more of this. Running. Eventually, I was able to do a mile, 2 miles. Yeah, keep going. Right now I could run a 10K on the spot if I felt like it. And the goal changed for me. Really, I didn't get dopamine from like this muscle building, really pushing hard in the gym, pushing myself to the point where shit you not, like, excuse me. Pushing myself to the point where, you almost have like this moments where you're blacking out in the gym, how much force I'm trying to exert, just pushing my body. Just didn't care about any of it anymore. None. Dopamine was gone. Nothing was keeping me going. And then it shifted to, I like how I look. I'm glad that I went through that, but I no longer want to continue putting myself through that. So, and it was hard, right? But the only reason I kept going because I had this goal. Then I got the goal. I no longer, had the pursuit for it. So, I think that's a good story to kind of correlate what you're saying. It was a hard journey. The only reason that anybody would partake in that is because you would have a goal. You have some amount of drive towards it. That's where the dopamine. The moment that I was like, why am I doing this? I like my body. I don't want to build any more muscle. Like, I'm fine. And I want to focus more on being healthy, maintaining this. All of that disappeared. I stopped doing it. Right. And anytime, like, you cannot get me in the gym and put me through a workout that I did back then. I would not go through the entire thing. I put myself through a lot in order to build where I am right now. And I would not like to continue doing it again. Give me some other hard stuff. Like, you want me to work a 16-hour day working on the business? You want me to, do some Muay Thai training, try to get better at my striking, my kicks, whatever? I'm for it, but I don't care about building. Do not. So, it shifts and it changes. And at some point, I'll probably not care about some other stuff too. So, yeah, I'm with you, man.
Yeah. I can definitely see that journey in my life in multiple places. I mean, especially with like the fitness side. Like, my goal this year was to lose 20 pounds. I lost the 20 pounds. Goal was to drop another 20 pounds, and I dropped another 20 pounds. And now I'm here. I'm like, all right, where's the next little goal here?
Yeah.
And then so got to mentally realign, start working, get that general goal and start working and building that.
Yeah.
Again. Anyways. Yeah, I mean, it's been 50 minutes. I don't want to take up your whole day, but
yeah. I think we've been going for a while now. I mean, how do you end off on here?
I can ask. I got one more question. I think it'd be really cool to ask, and then we can do the connection. Dalton, did you have a question you wanted to ask? I want to make sure you get.
No, actually, he hit it right there at the end. I was going to ask him how much he enjoys running, and then he was like, "Now I run." So, because normally that's kind of how it is like, or at least I've experienced that. Like, bodybuilders that are in the gym, like, trying to pump as much weight as they can. Like, normally they hate running, or they just don't run at all. And so I was about to ask that question because, like, I used to run a lot of times, like, release stress, and I felt really good after running. It did nothing for muscle growth per se, other than maybe my legs. But yeah, so that was, I mean, you just answered it. So yeah, you go ahead and take it away, Isaac.
I work hard at that. Like, running is still a very difficult thing, but I enjoy it. Reason being that it kind of gives me the same feeling for I would do like a really hard set back in the day. Really, it's a feeling of accomplishment. And then also another reason why I do it, because I have the knowledge that cardio is actually one of the best things that you can do. If you're lifting weights is great for the brain as well. But generally speaking, like doing some swimming, any aerobic work, generally speaking, it's it's like almost like steroids, right? So that keeps me going, because with where I'm at in my life, mental performance is like key. So it's tough, but there's a reason behind it. As long as there's a good reason behind it, I think I'll keep
it. Yeah. So my question was, when people start on their fitness journey, what are some of just a couple of the biggest mindset shifts that you see people make that keeps them going, or I mean, I guess keeps them going. Like, maybe they started out and it was very difficult, but they made some mindset shifts and they're still going.
Yeah. So I want to speak to the general population, for people who are out there, they're having their families, they have their careers, they have their business, whatever it is. The mindset shift that keeps a lot of them going, in my experience, is understanding the value of their health, not only to themselves, but to the people that they serve around. When you connect the dots, that the way that you behave as a parent, your children are passively observing that. They are learning from passive, seeing your behaviors. by seeing how you react to stressful environments. You go and grab a burger or a cupcake or whatever it is. When that becomes apparent to you, you're aware of it, then it makes it very, very easy if you are, I want to see if you're a healthy, good person, right? You want best for your kids. If that is your goal, then you would want to be able to nix behavior. You want to be able to take that responsibility. So that's one thing, and as a person who is running their business, if you are not having the energy for your day, if you are showing up to work and you're functioning just as lazier than the people that you're paying to work, right? To some extent, I believe in business, you got to lead from the front. If you're a leader, if you're a manager, right? Never ask someone to do something that you would do yourself. So if you're not in the position to be able to execute at a high level, then you're at a disadvantage, because if the people that will work for you are going to be attracted to the person who is at the top. And if the top is a low quality person, if the top is not a person who is a high performer, you're not going to attract high performers, right? You're going to attract mediocrity. So that's another thing with respect to business. And then other things, just generally speaking, relationships, in today's day and age, especially with the way America's set up right now, to my knowledge, 42% of America is obese. Almost 3/4 of the country is overweight. It's estimated by 2030, 50% of America will be obese. That's a statistic. It's in the New England Journal of Medicine. So that's something to really be aware of. And with that, it's not something that we can escape from, that having that physical healthy appearance is a huge part of attraction. Huge part. And I don't want to make any correlations that are not necessarily linked, but I think that a big part of why America also has a 50% divorce rate is a part of people not being able to take care of the health. Because when you look at someone who doesn't take care of the health, what is it? They don't take responsibility for themselves. They don't take responsibility for the people around them. Because if you can't take care of yourself, who can you take care of, right? And I think that ties into a lot of relationship problems in the long term. And that's something that if you are aware of, you would definitely want to avoid. So once people become aware of those things, how it affects their relationships, how it affects their family, how it affects their business, their career, once you become aware of that, then you are going to have drive and the impetus to keep going, despite how difficult it might seem in the moment. When you're on the treadmill, you're running, lifting weights, whatever it is, you're skipping, you're avoiding the donut, and you're going to go for that nice chicken breast salad, whatever it is, right? In those moments when it feels so hard and so difficult to go with the less, I want to say, rewarding or the easier choice, having that top of mind, reason why you're doing it, I think that's probably the best way to put it. Having a strong purpose, having a strong why, right? Doing it for your family, doing it for your business, doing it for your relationship. Once you have that top of mind, you keep going. And it's as simple as that. Yeah, at that point, it's no longer, how can I make this easier for myself? What's a quick fix? It's like, at that point, all right, this needs to happen. I'm going to make it happen no matter what, right? So as you keep trying a million different things, you'll fail, but you know that, hey, if I don't do this, then my business is going to suffer. My kids are going to suffer, my marriage is going to suffer. And that's something big to pay for, right? That's a big thing. If you sacrifice that just because you can't get your health in order, then, it's not looking like a bright future for you.
To wrap this up, man, how can people connect with you? What's the best place to find you?
Best place to find me is on Twitter. That's where I'm most active. So you can find me at the War English. And then you could also find me on Instagram at the same name. I will be starting on YouTube soon enough. I intend to do that next month. So I will be posting more long-form content on the realm of health, fitness, fat loss, longevity, even building muscle, all that. And yeah, those are the three main platforms. More will be coming soon, but for now, those are the direct areas you can get.
All right, awesome. Yeah, be sure to check him out. It was really great having him on the show today.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me.
All right, catch y'all next week.